Hi folks, welcome back to the Horde. So, just want to show you while the batteries are all charged up. Got a beautiful sunny day here in the Hudson Valley. It is 71.0 here, 9/14 Sunday, and about 2:30. That one says 70, and for my friends overseas, 18.3. I think you guys can see that. So welcome to Sunday. Used to do a lot of flea markets on Sunday. Kind of backed away from some of that stuff for the time being. Just too much crap, right? Can't go to the flea markets if you got nowhere to put your stuff. So anyway, no flea markets for a while. So what I've been up to is, you guys are familiar, I have several projects all cooking all at the same time, and one of these projects is this John Deere. So underneath the tarp over there, I dragged out a Murray mower that I've known I've had for a while. A friend of mine had this thing, and he really didn't have it too long. And in a brilliant display of stupidity, he drained the oil in the fall, and he didn't put oil back in it, and he was driving it around with his son, doing laps and all, and the engine stalled, and he restarted it, and he pushed it, and it was most of the way home, and it started to make a clanking sound. I guess they drove it to the neighbor's house, and it started making a clanking sound. And he checked the oil and said, "Oh shoot! I never put it back in from the when I took it out in the fall." And he broke, or there's some counterweights in here. Particularly, they were no good, and the crank was no good. So he put the motor back on, he put the starter on, and he was driving it around for a while using the battery to turn the starter and drive it up and down his driveway or something until the starter burned up. So at that point, he gave it to me. So anyway, one could see it's got a nice Tecumseh rear end there. And I've just been comparing it. This is the one out of the Deere, the John Deere. Remember, it's all cracked. You can see the stuff oozing out of it there. There you go. And I made a few measurements. It appears the bolt-on, right, they match. The axle size matches. The brakes look like they match. It looks like the tires will go on, though I'm not sure how they're going to sit from a width point of view. All those things are good things. Now the troubles start. This pulley is smaller than that pulley. No big deal. I can change the pulley. We could get around that. This is where the shifter bolts on. And you can see this guy's got this long extension that the shifter bolts onto. Not quite a showstopper, but not a good thing either, right? I could always, cut this shifter. Well, first thing I could do is try to see if this shifter is interchangeable. Or I could cut the shifter down, drill a hole, tap it. Once again, that's not a showstopper. Changing the pulley, not really a showstopper. But here's where things start getting interesting after that. If you look from the top of this pulley to the top of where the it bolts to the frame, right, that height, in this case you get about 3 1/4 inches. In this case, from where you bolt up to the frame to the top of the pulley, you get closer to 5 inches. If you take a look down here, hopefully I have enough light and it'll, you see that like little extension right here. Oops. Right, the one-handed man's not doing very good. Anyway, you see the extension between those two, and you see this one. You see how between the pulley and the case don't have the extension. Now there's a couple of ways around that too. I can either jack the axle up on the frame, right, put some spacers between here, but then I start running into trouble with the deck, right? How high is the deck from the ground? So I could do that, or once again I could cut the shaft and bring it down, but it looks like at the most I'm going to gain 3/4 of an inch, let's call it an inch, which means I still have a 1-inch problem. There's a big difference between the way this machine does things and the way this machine does things. This machine has the gas tank here, which kind of takes up a lot of the space, so they kind of went low profile. They tried to compress the controls for the shifting and so forth. Just once again, that gas tank slips over here. For this thing, the gas tank's under the hood, gravity feed, and back here is where the battery hangs out. So I could probably swap those two, right? I can put a motorcycle battery under the seat here and probably not set my tail on fire. And I could, where the gas tank is, or where the battery is, I'm sure I could get a gas tank to squeeze in. But still, as this belt starts coming up, right, I got other complications. I could cut this bracket out, right, but there are other control issues. And then there's issues, once again, I still got to mess with the shifter. Those tires, they really don't look like direct replacements. So, it doesn't look like it's going to work. And from my experience, and you guys please tell me if I'm wrong, but this length is pretty common for the shifters. These lower profile ones, not nearly as common. The pulley also, I seem to recall in my mind that normally the pulley spacing is kind of jacked up like that a little bit on other units. I also don't want to get to the point where I have every freaking parts tractor I own sitting in the driveway like this with its face in the sky. And even this MTD tractor, it's always annoying when I find myself in this situation, because I wonder what to do. From sitting around, I've lost a couple of the tires on it, right? This one's, you can see it's a loss. One of the back ones here is also a loss at this point. I'm not sure which one it is. It's a shame though, because look at this. Yeah, one of these is a goner too. I think this one, look at this. I mean, it still has the little nubbies on it. I think this one might be still okay. I mean, the hood looks good. I got the seat, the metal's good. I have the deck, the steering's still good. So there's a certain amount of temptation to throw an engine on this and use it, but I got other units to use. Then the second thing is, well, if I'm not going to use it, I'll have it hang around for parts. Now, do I want the whole rig hanging around for parts, every piece of it, or do I pull the rear end out of it? Well, pulling the rear end out of it and just letting it sit around. Do I pull the front end out of it? And once again, do I keep the whole rig for parts? The inability to make these decisions is what kind of led to this ungodly horde that we're all looking at here. Some of it goes back to when I was a kid. I've had this discussion with you guys before, that when I was a kid growing up, you know, you were very careful when you got something, you didn't want to let it go because there was a good possibility you weren't going to get it again. Nowadays, with my ability to get my hot little hands on almost anything, it seems, and some of the financial means to also put my hands on a lot of things, and you know, through Craigslist and eBay, those things didn't exist. They had something known as the penny saver back then, but that was about it. I could see my smokestack got bent from yesterday's or 2 days ago antics. So I'm gonna give this thing another few minutes. I'm gonna think about it. Probably I'm gonna hold on putting a rear end in that John Deere for a little while, and see what pops up on Craigslist. See if I can't have a whole tractor pop up. There's a guy out on the internet. This must be a common problem because he came up with a kit for a rear end conversion. He puts a heavier duty rear end with these, with roller bearings, another Tecumseh, or Peerless. I think they might have dropped the Tecumseh name off of it. With roller bearings, I mean the axle thickness is thicker. Instead of 5/8, it's 3/4. But he came up with a wheel kit for it also. That whole thing is like $700. $700 buys me 2 John Deeres used. You know, depending on the condition they're in and what I'm up to and all that. So I'm scratching my head. I'm not quite sure what to do, what the most cost-effective thing to do is. If I am fixing this up and giving it to my son, I'd really like to put that rear end in it and make it function completely properly. Even if I'm going to have it around the house, it'd be nice to have a tractor that's not all you know, Rube Goldberg and so forth, especially if it's going to be a lot of work and all, right? I mean, if I just need a tractor, right? Oh boy, I need a tractor. I blew up my Kubota. I could just go out here. That has a broken keyway. No big deal, right? And there's another one just like it out there that I just have to swap an engine onto. So from a need point of view, they're not a John Deere tractor, but do I need to fix them? So anyway, I'm going to give it a little time, let the brain roast on the idea for a while, see what shows up on Craigslist or eBay. Maybe I do find one that fits in there. It's probably worth, you know, even as much as $300 to put the right rear end in there and not have to Rube Goldberg it up and mess it all up. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know. Guys, thanks for watching, commenting, and subscribing. We'll catch you on the next episode of The Horde. Until then, remember to keep your tractor on its wheels and not to bend the smokestack on a tree. Guys, enjoy your lives. Bye now.